Hello, welcome back to Ascending Community of Light. And I'm Rena, and I've got my lovely business partner with me, Cynthia, and we are the founders of ascendingcommunityoflight.org, where we empower your conscious awakening to become your most divine self. And in that, Cynthia and I were having this wonderful conversation earlier about the innate goodness of people. And I wanted to just So we thought, let's just hop on a video and start discussing it in Arena and Cynthia discuss. So here we go. Let's talk about that, Cynthia, how people are innately good, but there are so many forces out there that want us to believe otherwise.
Hmm. I agree. Yeah, this is a great topic of conversation today because I think the world is getting crazier and crazier. And I think it's good to hold on to what I've come to realize. And I hope you too, Rena. I know you have come to realize that human beings are good. We are innately good. We are loving. We are kind. We are innately filled with joy and love. And I think that it's easy to forget that in this day and age. And you turn on the news and you hear about this robbery and that mugging, and this person was murdered, and it sounds horrible. And what really helps me sleep at night is to realize we really are good. And human beings are very generous. And it's funny that you'd be wearing a shirt today
I
talking
know.
about live generously. I love it. It's
Just
like
happen to
perfect.
have it on.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's so perfect. So one of a little story came to mind. I might have told this in another video, but it was from Michael Tellinger, and he was talking about there have been so many forces acting on us as human beings. But think about how your circle of friends are and my circle of friends. And when you take a small circle, oh, yes, we all love each other and know each other, therefore we're good to each other. But that's not actually true. And Rena, you told that story of those men jumping out at that intersection and helping that poor fellow whose car broke down. And you were just amazed at how beautiful that was,
Right.
right? Everybody was helping. Like humans will do that, and we are good. And we do things that are kind and loving to one another. And sure, there's always our dark side and our shadow side. And like we talked about earlier, everybody has pain and trauma in their lives, for sure. And that makes us act in a negative way. But for the most part, I just think that we've forgotten how good we are and how loving and kind, and that people want to help one another. I think that's a really important component, don't you?
I do. And I agree with you. There is when we see the news, or even just if you live in a city at all, just looking out and you see the garbage, or you see people that are homeless, or you see them strung out on drugs, or you know of children that have been hurt, or you hear stories of adults who had been hurt
Mhm.
as children, and you, we hear these stories, and I think you and I both agree that there's more and more of this coming out. And as social media explodes, we hear more and more. And it becomes difficult sometimes to not focus on that, to remember to just put those aside, kind of put them in a little box and zip it up, and think about and really focus on that people are innately good. They do bad things. Some people are raised in super horrendous conditions, but as a whole, humanity is divine, and we are divine
Yes.
expressions of our creator walking on the earth. And if we can remember to hold that in all of the trauma that we hear on a day-to-day basis, but
Mhm.
really hold that thought, then we are creating the earth that we want, right? We talk about creating this new earth. And as this matrix is falling apart and disintegrating, it's ugly, but we
It
have
is.
to rebuild it into something better, right?
Right. And I think that was a really good point about holding on to that and to always go back to people are good. People are good, and they will help me, and I can trust others to help me, and not to feel that we're so alone and there's no one out there that's good and no one will help. we do want to help each other. In fact, we feel our best, I think, when we help one another. When we're in service to each other, I know that that's my best place. I feel like I'm serving God's purpose for me when I'm helping.
Mm-hmm.
And so, but going back to the innate goodness of humanity, James Gilliland talks about this a bit, and he talks about how really we have to remember how good we are. And I just remember a lecture he gave where he talked about being influenced by other things in our lives, and by negative, forces. And I think that's really important. And when I think of that, how much people have been put down and squashed and ridiculed and belittled and bullied, and that I think about how I feel so much compassion for humanity, you know? Like humans have gone through a lot. And these are tough times we're in right now, right? And so I feel more compassion. The more ugliness I see, I just feel compassion. And like you said, when people do negative things, they are sometimes are in horrific situations. That doesn't excuse bad behavior, but it certainly sheds a bit of light on they're hurting, they are in pain, and so they're lashing out.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I would say 99.9% of what human beings do that is bad, I would say that it comes from a place of pain
Yes.
and
I used to
trauma.
tell my children that when the bully would come to the playground, or they would be at the bus stop and somebody would be bullying them, they'd come home and tell me about it. And I would tell them like you need to have your boundaries and keep your boundaries, not let
Mhm.
yourself get hit or rocks thrown at you or whatever. But at the same time, realize that if you're not feeling good about yourself, then you're coming from a place of pain when you hurt another person.
Exactly.
And because when
Mhm.
you feel good about who you are and you're happy and you feel connected and you feel full of love, you don't hurt anybody.
No,
So the
never.
bullies
Yeah,
are hurting
they're
inside. And that
hurting.
kind of comes
Mhm.
back to what we talk about a lot, my mantra, which is everything's a mirror, right? So when the bullies are bullying us, it's because they're in so much pain that they're projecting their pain of themselves, they feel of themselves onto us.
Mhm.
We don't need to let them do that, but that's what it is. And so, exactly right. That's where the compassion can come in.
Yeah, and I'll
Yeah.
never forget watching Ted Bundy's last interview on TV. And my daughter was really, really young. She was a baby at the time. And I had strolled her into a local mini mart where I used to go and get a afternoon, treat or drink or whatever. And he was on TV because we didn't have a TV at the time, actually. And I was kind of shocked. And I listened to him, kept the baby busy, but I listened to his last confession, and he said that he murdered all those people out of the pain he felt inside. In fact, he said that he couldn't feel pain anymore and that he lost touch with his feelings. And our feelings are our power spot. I mean, our feelings, our emotions are what make us truly human.
Mhm.
And he felt that he couldn't feel the pain anymore inside himself. So he inflicted pain on others so it could be reflected back to him.
Interesting.
That made a huge, huge impact on my life when I heard that. And
Mhm.
I actually, for a split second, maybe it was just fleeting, but I actually felt compassion for Ted Bundy.
Mhm.
And then he was executed an hour later, and I'm glad he's gone off the planet for sure. But the fact that I felt a little bit of compassion, as short as it was, for someone so horrific as a serial killer, shows me that if we could just develop more compassion for one another, we could begin to understand the world a lot better.
Mhm. And again,
And
not excusing the behavior,
not excusing it. No, no.
but what we're doing when we hit that point of compassion is we're raising the vibration, we're raising the frequency up, right? So that we're not
Yeah.
in this, oh, he's getting what he deserves and whatever, that negative, tit
Eye
for
for an eye,
tat,
tooth
eye
for
for an eye.
tooth. Yeah, yeah.
Exactly. They're
Mhm,
not, instead of being there, we're going up a notch.
mhm.
And that's what we're about, ascending community of light. That's what we're about, is to help people understand that with these small changes and these small tweaks, we can move into a different place of higher frequency for ourselves. Therefore, it's the ripple effect for everybody else.
For everyone else, yeah. And so the next time someone's mean or, bullying you or something, again, like you said, keep your boundaries, but to realize they're coming from a place of pain and maybe even say a kind word to them. I mean,
Mhm.
wow, wouldn't that be interesting? Someone's bullying you and you say, "You're having a hard day today, aren't you? I can see that you're in a lot of pain right now." And I understand. I understand what that's like. I mean, we could try it and see what happens.
Yeah.
Um,
Depending
it's
on the
pretty,
person, yeah,
depending on the person, yeah. It
and
would
how
be
mad they really are.
kind of challenging to do that. But
Yeah,
um, I just want people to remember, as I'm working on remembering the innate goodness. People are innately good. We are wonderful, divine, sacred human beings having this experience, and that whenever we lower ourselves, our vibration, like you said, and we do something negative or we receive negativity, let's raise that up and go to that higher place.
yeah,
There's that song, "Lift Us Up Where We Belong." I forgot who sang it. It might have been the Eagles or someone. Do you remember that song? "Lift Us Up Where We
I'm not good
Belong."
at that. You put me on the spot every time, and I'm not good at that stuff.
Oh, no, no, I'm sorry. No, I don't remember the name of the band either. It was a great
Uh,
song because we belong in the higher realms. We belong lifted and positive
right,
and in a place of joy. And I know that God wants us to be in joy and in happiness and
absolutely.
to remember who we really are,
Right. And
right?
and it's important too that, going back to that compassion, it's important to realize that sometimes it's just circumstances that make people behave a certain way.
Mhm,
And I told this story earlier, and I'm just going to really to you in private, but I'm going to just really recap it very quickly. And that is the story of a local high school. And the math teacher really got down and dirty with his students one day, and he said, "Okay, you guys are going to teach me today. So we're changing roles. And what I want to learn from you is what's going on in your lives that makes it so that you don't get your homework done and you're not trying in my class." And it took a long time, but finally they started speaking out. And he was shocked by some of the things the students were revealing. This is high school, and they were revealing that they weren't safe at home.
mhm,
They would be in a home that was full of noise and they couldn't sleep at night, or they would be told that they weren't allowed to come home unless they brought money or articles that could be sold or something. So, in other words, they were told they had to go out and steal and bring something home before they were allowed in the house to eat.
mhm.
So, it's like they're not innately bad people. They're like you just said, they are innately good people, but they're in a bad circumstance. And it might be the same thing with the homeless people. We have a lot. I live in a larger city than you do, and we have a lot of homeless people, a lot. And it is easy to just go by them and go and say, "What's their problem? Why can't they figure this out?" You know?
Right. Go get a job. Yeah.
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 And not realizing that no matter what they do, housing prices are so high they can't afford anything, right? But still, it's easy to be judgmental
Mhm.
instead of coming from that place of compassion that maybe they did have a position and it got closed down during that whole COVID thing, or maybe something happened. We don't know what their story is and what their journey is. And that's the key, I think, don't you?
Yeah.
The key to remember is to not place judgment on another because we don't know their story and
Right.
we haven't walked in their shoes. So until
Exactly.
we really get a sense of that, or never actually place judgment, but just to hold them as a fellow human
Mhm,
that has goodness inside of them. And
mhm.
like what you were trying to express, find a way to give them an etheric hug, whether it's with words or energy or even touching, even a touch, depending on the situation and the person.
That brings me to a YouTube that I saw recently, and it made me so happy. It was a homeless person who a guy was walking by, and he held out his hand for some money, and the guy said, "I don't want to give you money, but why don't you come with me for today? We're going to go ride go-karts or something." And this was an older man, and he was toothless and really down and out and all of that. And they went and rode go-karts for the day, and they had a great time.
Ah,
And this homeless person was laughing and smiling, and he was just in so much joy. And one thing led to another, and he ended up um, getting some dental work, and then he got a place to live, and then he got a job. And he was talking about how much he loved his job, working for a paint manufacturer or something. And just the whole story brought me so much happiness, because it's that taking that moment and believing in the innate goodness of this person and saying, well, how about going and having some fun and finding that joy again? And he went out and he did it. And it was such a great story. I showed my husband, and my husband was thrilled. And he always says to me, when we're driving somewhere and we see a homeless person, he says, honey, this could be us. By a simple twist of fate, we could be in the street. We
mm,
could be homeless. So I love when you said, stay out of judgment. Don't be in judgment of these people. They're fellow human beings. And I really do want to believe in the goodness of them. And I know there's so much violence going on right now.
mhm,
Um, but I'm holding on to that. That's my anchor. That's my anchor, is to hold on that people are inherently good. They are. And I know it. I feel it. I don't have to believe it. And that was another video we did, right? We talked about belief systems. I'm going to let go of that. I know people are inherently good.
mhm.
So that's what gets me through and helps me, especially during these crazy times.
And that's
So,
important for us in our own frequency to focus on that. So I'd like to invite our audience to measure your thoughts and your frequency. So begin to notice how you feel when you're thinking certain thoughts. So
mhm,
if you come to a place where you are thinking judgmental thoughts of another person, just take a quick moment and remember to go, oh, check in. How am I feeling about this? I don't
yeah,
feel
you're gonna
so
feel
great.
low, low. It's a
Right. I
low
don't feel so
vibration,
great.
right?
So now I can flip it. What if I start thinking the cup is half full? What if I start thinking that there a more compassionate thought? What if I start having some forgiveness in my heart, some understanding in my heart? Oh, now I feel a little better.
Yeah.
So then as we're walking around feeling better, then we're putting that energy out instead of creating more, because we're
Hmm.
such magnificent creators. We have to remember this. Every
Hmm.
single moment that we are creating with our thoughts and our vibration and our frequency, we are
Right.
creating the next moment for ourselves as well as the collective.
Hmm. And that's a great way to end the video today. And for us to try that, because I know that when I'm in a good space, I do feel lighter, and I feel my shoulders go back and my head lifts
Mhm,
up, and I'm happier. And just to really kind of check in when I'm judging others, I feel kind of down and my shoulders go down, and it's just a lower vibe. I mean, it really is
mhm,
a lower energy, and you can feel yourself lifted in joy and love, and especially compassion, which of course the Buddha teaches all about compassion, right? That we must have compassion for others. So thank you for joining
perfect.
us today. And it was just wonderful. So thank you so much.
That was your
And
alarm saying it was time to end the video, right?
oh, so just have a wonderful day. And remember, we are inherently all very, very good.
That's right.
So
Okay. It was great talking with you, and we'll get on
great.
again and do another Rena and Cynthia discuss.
Right. Thank you. Take care,
Okay.
everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye.